All right, Bellator 252, Aaron Pico going out there looking like a stud. Just, that knockout, amazing. That, oh yeah, chef's kiss all day. All day. Matt, are we back on the Aaron Pico hype train? I mean, I know we got derailed for a little bit, but are we putting some coals in the fire here? Are we, what's going on here? Is there smoke coming out of the locomotive? Are we back on that hype train?
I mean, it might be time. It might be time. You can kind of hear the conductor, kind of hear him gearing up for an all aboard. I don't know if it's quite time for departure just yet. But I mean, the guy, ever since making this move to Jackson Wink, he's looking like a different animal, man. He's looking like a different animal. And I know that, this wasn't like a first round knockout that we just saw on Thursday evening, but it showed improvement, man. It showed improvement. It showed poise. It showed like he's an aggressive fighter that can get you out of there. And that's one of the things that, got him caught up early on was that he was a little bit too aggressive and a little bit too wild, right? Just put himself in bad situations where every time his 3 losses, every single time we were like, why did you put yourself there? But he's improving, man. And he's growing, like people are still considering him like a rookie, which is kind of crazy to me. Like I still see some people saying that. I'm like, come on, man. He's 10 fights in to his pro career. There's guys in the UFC that we don't consider rookies with less fights. So let's be real here. It's time to drop the prospect angle, considering this guy a real fighter, man, a real contender at 145. He's looking really good, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think a huge thing to look at is, again, we've talked about the difference between level of competition in the UFC versus level of competition in one or regional, Bellator, all of that. But if you throw all that aside and just look at Pico's game, the levels that he has jumped, seemingly since those losses, it's noticeable in just the way he fights. If you don't look at his opponent at all and just look at what he does, if you just keep the camera on him the entire time, he looks like a completely different fighter. He looks like he's really made huge leaps and bounds in what he's doing. And I thought this past Thursday at Bellator 252, you definitely saw the best Aaron Pico you've ever seen. It wasn't a first round finish. It wasn't just a mauling, but it was a well thought out, calculated fight where he still got that knockout that was just a highlight reel, right? Like it's going to be on the Aaron Pico highlight reel forever. And he's making that progress where you start to think, okay, is he ready to get that level of competition where maybe he's starting to build himself up towards a title shot? And that is massive. And as you said also, right, he's 10 fights into his career and people are calling him a rookie. I mean, let's not forget that CNN's own Khamzat Chimaev, the man who really pays our bills here, is 9-0. Everyone's talking about he's about to fight the number 3 UFC guy in the world. No one's calling Khamzat Chimaev a rookie. Pico has had more fights than Khamzat Chimaev. I want that to sink in for a bit. But regardless of all that, looks like Pico, after that move to Jackson Wink, has really progressed to a level where I think personally he's ready to start that title run. Do you think the same? Do you think again, hype train or not, whether we're going to call aboard or not, maybe it's another fight or two, but do you think that his next step is a real step towards title contention?
I mean, you got to put him in there at least with the guys around the level of Henry Corrales or Adam Borch, like the guys that he, lost back to back. So you got to put him in there. Maybe not those two exactly, but that level. Keep climbing him up. You don't have to throw him into a number 1 contender fight just yet. But Bellator has shown that this is the guy that they want to promote, right? from day one. His first fight was Bellator NYC, like in a huge spot. And of course, that blew up in everybody's face. But they've shown that this is a guy that they want to have with the strap around their waist, under their banner at some point soon. So, yeah, I mean, you just got to put him in there against tougher competition, let him keep working, keep growing. I like how you brought up, CNN and Chimaev, because that also ties into your other point about saying, like, take away his opponents and look at the skills. That's what everybody says about Chimaev too, right? Everybody's like, oh, who did he fight in the UFC so far? Nah, look what he's doing to those people, right? And that's what we see shades of from Pico. And again, like his losses are just like fight IQ errors, right? Not necessarily that he's lacking in a particular area of the competition. It's not like he's outclassed on the ground. It's not like he's outclassed on the feet. Just mental errors, leaving himself open, like leaving his guard open for a minute and getting clipped, something like that. But yeah, listen, if he continues to win, and let's say he gets 3 fights in 2021, I mean, at the end of 2021, he's got to be number one contendership. Got to be. If he gets 3 wins in this next calendar year, absolutely has to be in that title picture.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't want Bellator to kind of, slow play him. Dare I say, like how they slow played MVP, right? Where before they really introduced him to real competition, it was just the MVP show against various people. Yeah, I don't want to see that. And again, as you mentioned, his losses are not that he's never had a fight where he was just dominated, for the unanimous decision loss where he's just dominated in one particular area all day. It's always been a fight IQ error, and that is key, because when you're dominated in a particular area for 3 or 5 rounds, that's a whole different story. That's much harder to fix, because that means some skill, essentially your opponent's just better than you at that particular skill, right? That's what Khabib does. It is, I take you down and I wrestle, you can't stop it, and it sucks. And it's not, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Al Iaquinta can spend the next 2 years just working on their wrestling. They're still going to have a problem if they go up and fight Khabib. We've never seen that with Aaron Pico. It's been fight IQ errors. It's been making leaving himself open, letting a lapse of judgment cause the inevitable end of the fight. So to see him progress the way he has, I wholeheartedly agree. You've got to put him on that Henry Corrales, that type of level of competition. Because if you don't and you slow play him like MVP, it's going to be, okay, that's great. But remember, he lost to Henry Corrales. Remember, he lost to these guys, and people are going to forget. Whereas if you put him back at that level and start to build him up again, if not in 2021, then definitely by 2022, he should be having a title shot.
Yeah, 100%. And one other thing that we can't discount either is that move to Jackson Wink, because everybody knows, that pays any attention to what Jackson Wink does. They're master game planners over there, right? You get a Greg Jackson in your corner who can expertly break down your opponents and tell you what you need to do and make adjustments as the fight is happening, which is key, because still so many fighters lack in that department. So many trainers lack in that department, the ability to make adjustments on the fly as they see the fight unfolding right in front of them. Jackson Wink excels in that area. So that's something as we have to pay attention to as competition gets tougher for him. He's going to be able to make adjustments as we go on. And that's going to be key, man. That's good enough for a win or two in some situations, where you may have the fighter that is a little bit more skilled than you, but you can game plan W's. And that's key, man, being a Jackson Wink now.
Yeah. I mean, that ability to pivot, we've seen it happen before. Most recent example that comes to mind is, again, Justin Gaethje, the way he went out there and his coach was like, hey, you've got to, slow down a little bit, kind of do it at your pace. Stop trying to throw haymakers and fight-ending punches all day. And then Gaethje goes out there and just takes control, and it's a done deal. Being able to pivot mid-fight is massive. That is something that's so underrated right now, that so many fighters and coaches and corners don't know how to communicate to their fighter midway, or the fighter doesn't know how to actually make that adjustment. Jackson Wink is one of the best at that. And I'm with you in terms of the skill level we've seen from Pico recently, plus Jackson Wink in his corner is a recipe for a title shot that is, I dare say he might take the belt by 2022. We'll see. It's a little early to be calling that. I'm not quite jumping on the hype train, but I mean, my ticket is out. My foot is on the platform. That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you what, man, my two biggest pet peeves in this game right now, in this MMA game right now, are trainers and corners that don't give any technical advice in between rounds and fighters that don't cut off the cage. So those are two things that that are being fixed right now for Aaron Pico. So yeah, it's time to start walking toward the tracks, man. Let's hop on board. Fire up the hype train. Fire it up.
All right. I mean, make sure you like and subscribe to this video if you haven't already, or to the channel as well. Let us know. Is it time? Are we choo-chooing here? Is this a GDR moment where we're just, hype train all day long? Is this it's
GDR for life? There's no hype train, okay? That's
but that's my point. Is GDR is on a constant train. That's never. It's if you haven't seen what's the movie with Chris Evans on the train that never ends, keeps going around. They made a TV series out of it, TNT. Oh man, this is gonna drive me nuts.
Google it quickly.
Yeah, I'm doing that. It's Snowpiercer. If you haven't seen Snowpiercer, that's okay. Well, that's the GDR train, where it's a train that world goes to hell. Everybody lives on a train that just constantly circles around the world. That's GDR, right? Just never ending laps. Right. But if we're ready to add the Pico train to this, let us know. If you think we need to, pump the brakes here and stay on the Snowpiercer GDR train and just, ride that out and say, no, Pico, let us know that as well. Because I want to hear what you guys think, because this is a touchy subject depending on how you feel about MMA camps, how you feel about Pico's previous performances in this one. I know a lot of people were not happy with Pico post-fight and what he did after the finish. That was a little, so let us know. Let us know your thoughts, because I'm about ready to hand my ticket to the conductor myself.
Absolutely.